الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وإيمانا وفقها في الدين اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وتجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا يا رب العالمين. So in our previous lesson we started with the formation of fiqh in the time of the Prophet and the time of the Sahaba. So today we are continuing from the time of Tabi'Un and also Atba' Tabi'in to the time of the four great Imams. Okay. So we will pause when we get to the time of four great Imams. Then in our next lesson we discuss about Imam Malik, the life of Imam Malik, and then the sources of the Mazhab of Imam Malik before we start reading the book. So now, when did the time of the Tabi'Un start? So we said, in our Aqidah lesson, we discussed about who a Sahabi is. Do you remember the definition of Sahabi?
No.
Okay.
So we said a Sahabi is someone who saw the Prophet. No.
That's all?
Legal definition.
No, this is not a legal definition. Yeah, it's a legal definition. It's
who
a definition.
Saw the Prophet and learned from the Prophet.
And then?
And learned from him.
Okay, there are some scholars who said that, but this is not the definition we gave. The definition we gave was a Sahabi is someone who has met the Prophet and then believed in him and died as a Muslim.
No.
Do you remember?
Yes.
So this is the definition according to the Hadith scholars. Alright, so that's it. So the time of Sahaba, the era of Sahaba ended in the year 100, because that was the last Sahaba, a Sahabi, the last Sahabi to died in the year 100. Abu Tufayl, Amr ibn Wathila, right? And before him there was also a Sahabi by the name Anas ibn Malik who died in the year 93. So this Sahabi is a servant of the Prophet ﷺ. He has served the Prophet for 10 years. That's Anas bin Malik. So that's but of course the time of Tabi'un did not start exactly in the year of 100, the end of year. No, it started before the last Sahaba died, right? So the Tabi'un are what? The children of what? Of the Sahabi. Of the Sahabas, the children of the Sahabas, and then those who came from different cities to meet the Sahabas. Okay, so the Sahabas after the time of the Prophet, after the demise of the Prophet, most of them were in Medina, right? Most of them were in Medina, and then till the death of Umar, at the time of Abu Bakr, all of them were in Medina. And then the time of Umar as well, because Umar did not allow the Sahabas to relocate to different cities. So most of them were in Medina. So after the demise of Umar, they started relocating, right? They started relocating, and like a Sahabi, like a companion of the Prophet Abdullah ibn Abbas, relocated to Mecca. And then Abdullah ibn Mas'ud left to Kufa, and then Kufa is a city in Iraq. Okay, so Abdullah ibn Mas'ud relocated to Kufa, and then Jabir ibn Abdullah also relocated to Kufa, and then Ali ibn Abi Talib also relocated to Kufa, right? And then Abdullah ibn Umar remained in Medina, right? And Abu Huraira also was in Medina, and Anas bin Malik was in Basra. Anas bin Malik was also in Basra. Okay, and then also some of the companions also relocated to Sham. Some also relocated to Egypt. Okay, so that's how they relocated after the death of Umar bin Khattab, right? But most of the Sahabas remain in Medina, even after the death of Umar, but some of the Sahabas relocated to different cities at that time. So those Sahabas who relocated to different cities, they started with spreading the hadith of the Prophet, and then the rulings the judgment of the Prophet and his conclusion, and also the teachings of the Quran. And then Abdullah ibn Mas'ud also, he really liked Umar ibn Khattab so much, so he also he studied the fiqh of Umar. So when he got to Kufa, he taught his students in Kufa the fiqh of Umar. And then Abdullah ibn Umar was in Medina. He remained in Medina with Abu Huraira and Aisha and the rest of the Sahabis. So they were also the leading narrators of hadith. So they depended on hadith narration. So whatever they want to deduce from if they need any legal ruling, they refer to the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay, why? Because they were in what? They were in Medina. But looking at when we also look at the geographical setting in the time of the Tabi'Un, you can find that we have Hijaz. Hijaz is what is a region. This area, Medina, which consists of Medina and also Mecca and Taif. So this is a region. And we also have Iraq. Iraq, also there were different cities in Iraq at that time: Basra, Kufa, and then Baghdad as well. And then Mecca, of course, Mecca is part of Hijaz. And then we have Egypt and also Sham. So Sham consists of Damascus and also Gaza at that time. So all these cities or region, Sahabas relocated to these places. So when we look at Medina, Medina was the city of the Prophet, populated by the Sahabas and their children, right? But when you look at also Iraq was also what? There were few Sahabas there, and also most of the Tabi'un were there, studying from the Sahabas who relocated to Kufa and Basra. Okay, but in Iraq, Iraq was a city that Persians were living in, right? And then it was conquered by Muslim, and it became Muslim populated cities. And then these Persians and other tribes embraced Islam. Okay, so when they embraced Islam, they came to Islam with their culture and different ideologies. Okay, so Iraq was a multicultural environment, was multicultural society, right? Whereas Medina was not like that. Medina was purely Arabic and Islamic, right? So here the challenges that people of Iraq were faced with, the people of Medina or Hijaz did not face these challenges and problems. Okay, so because of the challenges that people of Iraq faced, and then the people of Medina also were kind of the Medina society was a conservative society, where Iraq were multicultural. All right, so they were faced with many issues and challenges. So now these challenges that they were faced with, if they wanted to extract legal ruling from the sources, sometimes they can't find a legal ruling from the Quran and the Sunnah. So what did they do? They used reasoning, ijtihad. They used ijtihad. So whereas when you look at Medina, as we said, it's populated by the Sahabas. It was populated by the Sahabas, and it was a conservative society, right? They were not faced with much or any kind of challenges that will lead them to use reasoning or ijtihad. right? So most of the issues that they were confronted with in Medina, they were what they had the ruling from the Quran and the Sunnah, right? And at that time too, books of hadith were not compiled, right? So the hadith that the people of Medina know did not get to what the people of Iraq, right? Because the hadiths were not compiled, right? And then the Sahabas who relocated among the Sahabas to Iraq, they did not know all the hadiths. So for instance, all the hadiths that Abu Hurairah narrated, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud don't know all, and Anas bin Malik as well don't know all, and Ali bin Abi Talib also don't know all, right? And then there's no compilation that they can refer to, right? So if they are confronted with any issue and they can't find a ruling from the Quran and the Sunnah, what do? They did a lot of ijtihad and used their reasoning. So these, in Iraq, a school was formed due to the challenges that they faced. So this school is called Madrasat Ahl al-Rai, right? Meaning the school of reasoning, right?
Is it the same as the school of thought?
No, it's different.
Okay.
The school of thought is Mazhabs. So Ahl al-Rai meaning the school that uses reasoning. Most of their deduction and then extraction of ruling is based on reasoning, ijtihad, right? Whereas the people of Medina, because it's a conservative society and not multicultural, they were also not faced with many issues that the people of Iraq were faced with, right? So most of their issues, they take their ruling from the primary sources. Okay, so these people in Medina, the school of Medina is known as Madrasat Ahl al-Hadith. So they depended most on hadith, because the issue that they were confronted in Medina, they found the ruling in the Quran and the Sunnah. So now these Sahabas who remained in Medina, they were the successors of the Sahabas who studied from them, right? So like Abdullah ibn Umar had a free slave called Nafi Mawla ibn Umar. So this Nafi studied from Ibn Umar. And then at that time of the Tabi'Un, there were seven renowned jurists. They were known as Fuqaha al-Saba. These Fuqaha al-Saba studied from the Sahabas at that time. Like Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib is one of the seven famous jurists in Medina. And then Urwa ibn Zubayr, Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah ibn Utbah. All these were among the seven known jurists in Medina. So these they studied from Umar ibn Khattab, Abdullah ibn Umar, and also Abu Hurairah, and they also studied from Aisha radiallahu anha. So these Tabi'Un, the successors of the Sahaba, they studied from these Sahabas, right? And then the successors of the successors, Atba'u Tabi'in, also studied from these successors, right? So among the Atba'u Tabi'in who studied from these Tabi'un were Imam Malik. So Imam Malik studied from these four jurists who studied from the Sahabas. So for instance, Imam Malik studied he studied from Nafi, the free slave of Ibn Umar. And Ibn Umar was also a student of his father Umar ibn Khattab. And also Umar ibn Khattab also studied from the Prophet. So you can see the chain of Imam Malik goes back to the Prophet ﷺ. So Imam Malik studied from Nafi, right? Nafi studied from Abdullah ibn Umar, right? And Abdullah ibn Umar studied from his father and then from the Prophet as well, right? And then also Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, he studied from Umar ibn Khattab, right? He also studied from Aisha radiallahu anha. He studied from Abu Bakr. He studied from Jabir bin Abdullah. All these are what? Renowned Sahabas. Those scholars among the Sahabas. So these successor Tabi'Un, he studied from these companions of the Prophet. And then Imam Malik studied from what? Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib.
Imam Malik.
Yeah, he studied from Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. Right? So that's how the chain was. That's how the chain was. So when we move on to Iraq, you find out that we said that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud relocated to Kufa, and also Ali bin Abi Talib relocated to Kufa, and also and also Anas bin Malik was also in Basra. Okay, so these companions also what they had their students in Iraq, right? So among the scholars what was Hamad bin Abi Salama, right? Hamad bin Abi Salama, Ibrahim al-Nakhai is also what one of the students of what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Ali bin Abi Talib. So these are what the successors Tabi'Un who studied from these Sahabas, right? So, and also there's what a renowned scholar, one of the four great Imams, who also studied from what these successors. This Imam's name is called Abu Hanifa, because he was born in Iraq and then studied from what? From the students of what? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Ali bin Abi Talib, right? So you can see Imam Abu Hanifa, the founder of Madhab al-Hanafiya, he studied from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and also from Ali bin Abi Talib. So he studied from what? From the students of what? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Ali bin Abi Talib, right? So you can see his chain. Abu Hanifa studied from Ibrahim al-Nakhai and then also Hamad bin Abi Salama. And then Hamad bin Abi Salama also studied from Ali bin Abi Talib and then also from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And then these Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and then also Ali bin Abi Talib, they also studied from what? From the Prophet ﷺ. So you can see the chain of these Imams goes back to what? To the Prophet ﷺ. And when you look at also Imam al-Shafi'i, he also what he studied, he was born in Gaza, in Palestine, and then he moved to Mecca, then later moved to Medina, right? He moved to Mecca, then he studied in Mecca for some time, and then moved to Medina. So when he moved to Medina, he came and studied from Imam Malik in Medina, right? So when he studied from Imam Malik in Medina, he moved to Iraq to study from the students of Abu Hanifa. And then from there, he relocated to Egypt.
He didn't meet Hanbal.
Yeah, he met Ahmad bin Hanbal.
I mean Hanifa.
So Imam al-Shafi'i did not meet Imam Abu Hanifa, but he met Ahmad bin Hanbal. So Ahmad bin Hanbal is one of the students of Imam al-Shafi'i. And Imam al-Shafi'i is also what? One of the students of Imam Malik. You get it? Yeah, so I said that Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, he studied from Imam al-Shafi'i, right? So Imam al-Shafi'i met Imam Ahmad, and Imam al-Shafi'i also met Imam Malik, because he studied from Imam Malik and also memorized the book of Imam Malik, right? So that's Imam al-Shafi'i was what? A student of Imam Malik, and Imam Ahmad a student of Imam al-Shafi'i, right? So Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, they met, okay? And also, but Imam Ahmad did not meet Imam Abu Hanifa. Why? Because Imam Abu Hanifa died in the year 150. In the same year Imam al-Shafi'i was born. Yeah, he was born in the same year, right? So, and also that time Imam Ahmad was not born, right? So, and then Imam Malik also died. So Imam Ahmad did not also meet Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, right? They did not meet. So Imam Malik with Imam Abu Hanifa, they met, and also Imam Shafi and Imam Ahmad met, and Imam Shafi also met Imam Malik, right? So Imam Shafi met these three Imams. You get it? So you can see that from the time of Tabi'Un, and then comes what? The time of what? Atba'i Tabi'in. So the Atba'i Tabi'in, they studied from what? From the Tabi'un, those who studied from the Sahabas. Right? So now we've got into what? To the time of what? The four Imams. Right? The four Imams. So we will, in our next lesson, we will look at the life of Imam Malik, and also the sources of derivation. Then in the following lesson, then we start with Kitab al-Tahara, inshallah. So any question?
You said Imam Malik studied from Nafi.
Yeah, from Nafi.
Sa'id.
Yeah, and Sa'id ibn al-Musayyab, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Imam Nafi died in the year 117, and also Imam Sa'id ibn al-Musayyab died in the year 94. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so any other question? Okay, then let's pause here. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.